Our esteemed dignitaries have arrived. I request everyone to kindly stand up and applaud for the honorable dignitaries.
Education today has experienced a paradigm shift from a transmission model to a humanistic model, wherein the students are holistic and active learners.
A challenge for the future is to understand how to model additional psychological factors known to affect learning, such as social situation, emotion, attention, and individual differences in learner performance, as well as ensure that every child is blessed with the light of knowledge.
Therefore, a 21st century teacher is a facilitator of learning who sees the spotlight, takes risk, and commits to lifelong learning.
A very good morning and a hearty welcome to our chief guest and speaker, Dr. Sugata Mitra, Chairman Shri Shishil Jaipuria ji, Senior Advisor Mr. Vinod Malhotra sir, Director Schools Dr. Neeta Bali, other dignitaries from the Corporate Office, Director Principal Shalini Nambiar ma'am, Vice Principal Chetna Sehgal ma'am, teachers, parents and my fellow Jaipurians.
Before we begin, we would like to request our chairman Shri Shishir Jaipuria ji to welcome the benevolent chief guest Dr. Sugata Mitra with a token of our reverence.
Light is a universal symbol of truth, knowledge, and understanding. It acts as a guide, keeping us from stumbling in the dark. Therefore, in order to consecrate the occasion and invoke the blessings of the divine, we request our illustrious chief guest, Chairman Sir, Vinod Sir, Director Schools, Director Principal Ma'am, and the other dignitaries to begin the event with the lighting of the auspicious lamp.
Thank you, everyone.
Music makes every occasion special. It adds melody, brings harmony, and enlivens our heart to enjoy every moment. On this occasion, our school choir is going to present a mellifluous rendition to welcome everyone.
Wasn't that an enchanting performance? Let us have a huge round of applause for our talented Jaipurians.
Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions is a leading conglomerate of 16 K-12 schools, 5 preschools, 2 management institutes, and a premier teachers training academy in North and Central India. The group has a legacy of 77 years in the field of education and presently has the strength of 20,000 students, 15,000 alumni, and 800 educators. What sets us apart is our presence in all verticals of the education sector. Let us learn a little more about this prestigious organization. We request Khushbu ma'am to kindly play the video.
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions carries a legacy of more than 77 years in the education domain. The vision of Seth Anandram Jaipuria to promote education was carried forward by his son Padma Bhushan Seth Munturam Jaipuria. and grandson Dr. Rajaram Jaipuria. Today, Shri Shishir Jaipuria is carrying forward the legacy of empowering the new generation. Shri Shishir Jaipuria is also the chairman of FICCI Arise, the vertical of FICCI which takes care of the interest of independent schools. Jaipuria Group started its journey with Seth Anandram Jaipuria College in Kolkata, established in 1945, inaugurated by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Today the group runs 16 K-12 schools, 4 preschools, 2 management institutions and a teachers training academy across North India. The group's network is spread across 15 cities and has the strength of 20,000 students, 15,000 alumni and more than 800 educators. Guinea Filaments Limited is a flagship company started by Dr. Rajaram Jaipuria in 1990. It is one of the largest textile units in India with a turnover of more than 1,000 crores. The group has 4 manufacturing plants at Kosi Kalam, Haridwar, Bharuch and Noida. Seth Anandram Jaipuria schools are located in cities like Ghaziabad, Kanpur, Lucknow, Unnao, Farrukhabad, Varanasi, Sitarganj, Satna, Rai Bareli, Mirzapur, Dibyapur, Nanpada, Prayagraj, Greater Noida and Amethi. New schools will soon be operational in Haldwani, Rai Bareli Road, Deva Road and Gomti Nagar in Lucknow, Mainavati Marg, Jajmao and Kidwai Nagar in Kanpur, Jhansi, Siddharth Nagar, Siddhauli, Pratapgarh, Deoria and other parts of India. Established in 1974 and ranked number 1 in Kanpur and number 2 in Uttar Pradesh by Education World 2021-22. Seth Anandram Jaipuria School, Kanpur is the most sought-after school in the city. The school is also part of the coveted Round Square group of institutions, which provides global exposure to students. Seth Anandram Jaipuria School, Ghaziabad was established in 2004 and has a wide base of 5,000 students. The school is known for its academic rigor as it has produced national toppers in CBSE examination for 3 consecutive years and district topper in class 12 in 2021-22. One of the biggest achievements by a student came in 2021 when the class 12 student Pal Agarwal became one of the national toppers in JEE Main with a 100 percentile. Seth Anandram Jaipuria School, Lucknow, established in 2016, has gained enviable reputation for its digital interventions. It is the first Microsoft Showcase school in the city and one among the 200 Microsoft Showcase schools in the country. Little One, the Jaipuria Preschool is a great place for toddlers to learn through play with focus on interactive sessions. Jaipuria Group has 4 Little One preschools, 1 in Ghaziabad and 3 in Kanpur. Jaipuria Institute of Management, Ghaziabad, was established in 2001 with a clear vision of developing the capabilities of young managers in a global environment. The institution is among the top 3 colleges in the state by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University. The B School has been accredited Grade A by NAC for its commitment to excellence and offers an AKTU approved 2-year full-time MBA program in various specializations. Jaipuria School of Business, Ghaziabad, was established in 2008 with a vision of transforming young minds to make them future ready. The institute's commitment to excellence was recently recognized in 2021 with an award for the Best Management College in India for placement by Integrated Chamber of Commerce and Industry ICCI. In 2020, amidst the COVID pandemic, Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group launched a teachers training academy called Samarthya Teachers Training Academy of Research, popularly known as STAR. The academy has till now provided more than 40,000 man-hours of training across 400 schools through more than 150 training sessions. A few remarkable contributions were to provide ICT training to 10,000 teachers of government schools in UP and to train educators on future learning systems and digital leadership. Under corporate social responsibility, Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group has Smriti Bhavans in different holy cities such as Chitrakoot, Vrindavan and Haridwar. Jaipuria Group runs a charitable eye hospital for underprivileged people in Nawalgarh, Rajasthan, in the name of Seth Anandram Jaipuria Eye Hospital, which started in 1943 and has treated more than 2 lakh patients till now. Ram Darshan Monument is one of the attractive places in Chitrakoot run by Jaipuria Group. The group promotes Vedic education through Ved Bhavan Vidyalaya at 5 pilgrimage places. Moving ahead, Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group plans to expand its reach to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities by opening 50 K-12 schools across North India in the next 5 years. The group is determined to foster quality education and prepare the youth of the country for Industry 4.0. Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions.
Our Director Principal, Ms. Shalini Nambiar, is a progressive visionary with a liberal outlook who does not stay shackled by the pedagogy of stereotypes and conventional expectations and schemes of things that bind an educator. Very much with the times, she believes that education should be essentially child-centered and aimed at nurturing the child and not imposing facts, figures and theories in the name of education. We request ma'am to welcome the August gathering with her invigorating words.
Namaskar, good morning. Very mild good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And on behalf of the entire Jaipuria group, I extend a very warm welcome to all our distinguished guests. We are indeed privileged to have amongst us a glitterati of guests on this fateful morning, and of course, the man himself. We are humbled to have you, Professor Sugata Mitra, today with us for this educational leadership talk. A very warm welcome, sir. Words fall short to describe his achievements. Let's give him a big hand before I... So, around 10 years back or 15 years back, I met him. I was very young. That's why he doesn't remember how I looked at that time, but sir, I looked very good. We met in London at one of the conferences, and honestly speaking, I fell in love not only with this project, but with him, but realized he's married. Professor Sugata Mitra is the world's leading expert on the internet and children's learning. He retired in 2019 as Professor of Educational Technology at Newcastle University, UK. In 1999, Professor Mitra conducted the world-renowned hole-in-the-wall experiment, where he proved that children can learn to use computers without any formal training. Professor Sugata termed this as minimally invasive education, MIE. In 2013, Sugata Mitra was awarded the first $1 million TED Prize to put his educational ideas together to create 7 laboratories called Schools in the Cloud. Here he studied learning as emergent phenomena in an educational self-organizing system. These results question the ideas of curriculum, examination, and the meaning of knowing itself in the internet world of the 21st century. A big hand for you, humbled sir, with your presence here. We are fortunate actually to have him amongst us and look forward to a lot of learning when he comes on stage. I would also like to accord a very warm welcome and express my gratitude to illustrious Chairman Shri Shishir Jaipuria ji, Chairman of Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions. A big hand for him. I wouldn't be here if he was not there. He was conferred with the Lifetime Achievement Award by School News at Great India Learning Festival 2021 in Varanasi. Mr. Jaipuria has been an active member of the FICCI Executive Committee. He's also the chairman of the FICCI All India Organization of Employers. Sir, we are once again honored to have you amongst us today. It's also a privilege to welcome our senior advisor, Jaipuria Group of Education, Mr. Vinod Malhotra, sir. Sir, warm welcome. Who has been a torch bearer of a proud heritage. He believes that it is time to revisit and redefine education so that it becomes more relevant, relatable, and user-friendly. His insights are very valuable to us, so please accept my gratitude to you for your presence today. And we missed you on our Founders' Day when you were enjoying the concert. I will not leave you on that. So let's give a big hand to all of them. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome an old friend who has recently joined us as Director Schools, Neeta Bali, who is an illustrious career spanning more than three decades. And I promise, Neeta, I will not let any secrets out. So a very warm welcome to her. Thank you so much. A warm welcome to all our dignitaries from the corporate office, principal and teachers and other schools and people who are watching us online. Seth Anandram Jaipuria School, Ghaziabad, in its journey spanning more than a decade, has earned a repute as an establishment where education recognizes and celebrates the uniqueness of every individual, for we believe that no two children are same. The education provided here is strong and flexible enough to mold itself according to global changes. Being the education provider across the nation, today our vision is simple: to put quality education within the reach of every child. The question is, what is quality education today? Well, the fact is, we are all novices here. Each generation is smarter than the previous. None of us can predict the future, and here we are trying to prepare a generation of a future unknown to any of us. Any learning to be meaningful has to be engaging for learners, experiential, genuinely integrated, as subject boundaries don't exist in the real world, and yet rooted in tradition. The question to ask is, will this learning last? Will this prepare my child for life? And we are waiting for Sir to give his talk to understand that. At Jaipuria, sir, we build on the curriculum, and the magic is in its implementation. The exposure must ensure the children are global citizens in true sense. Technology is here to stay, and learning at school needs to blend it in. Technology is a tough, wild beast. Our children need to learn to tame it, or it can easily destroy Homo sapiens. I'm not going to take long. And so we look forward to your talk. Let us all come together and carve a bright future. Thank you, and have a memorable day today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for boosting and motivating us to aim higher.
We also have amongst us our dynamic and futuristic Shri Shishir Jaipuria ji, Chairman Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, under whose tutelage we have flourished and achieved higher milestones. He has been a pioneer in the educational sector. He inspires us to aspire for higher benchmarks. We look forward to hearing from him on every occasion. And sir, we request you to edify us with your judicious words.
Respected Professor Sugata Mitra ji, Shri Vinod Malhotra ji, Advisor to the group, Dr. Neeta Bali ji, Director Schools, Shalini Nambiar ji, Director cum Principal Ghaziabad School, Dr. Narang, Director Jaipuria Institute of Management, all the teachers, parents who are assembled here today, our dear students who are there, I wish you a very warm welcome. Today we have assembled here to hear from Dr. Sugata Mitra, who is a distinguished thought leader about the work that he has done in the field of education. Many of us know that Sugata Mitra ji had the famous hole-in-the-wall experiment conducted in the year 1999. In that experiment, a computer was placed in a small kiosk at a public place, and the children were given free access to it. The experiment revealed something quite interesting. It showed that children can learn to use the computer and surf the internet without being supervised. Mr. Mitra is a strong advocate of self-organized learning environment, also called SOUL, in which children learn through collaborative problem solving with minimal intervention by teachers. Today, we are pleased to have Mr. Mitra with us to speak on the topic, The End of Knowing, a new design for education in the emerging new world. It is an extremely interesting subject with a lot of relevance in the light of the rapid technological intervention and pedagogical innovations that are happening in the 21st century education. We recently have the new education policy which was released in 2020, and a lot of new initiatives are being taken by the government in terms of reforms. And I hope once they are implemented, there will be a lot of changes in the education sector. Today, a new age pedagogy in transforming the way we teach children. Practices such as experiential learning, project-based learning, adaptive learning, and outcome-based learnings are being adopted in our educational institutions to ensure that the students not just know about the subject, but also have an in-depth understanding of the concepts and the competence to apply their knowledge in a creative manner. Critical thinking, design thinking, and problem solving are some of the abilities we nurture amongst the children. At the same time, technology interventions are making learning content easily accessible. Educators are complementing classroom teaching with synchronous and asynchronous lessons in the online mode. Self-paced learning modules are accordingly generating flexibility to students to learn their own pace and convenience. The augmented reality and virtual reality technologies are transforming learning outcomes, and the emergence of metaverse will make learning hyper-personalized and experiential. Just recently, the Government of India, in the Union Budget which was announced on the 1st of February, has set up 3 centers of excellence for artificial intelligence, for conducting interdisciplinary research, and developing cutting-edge applications for different sectors of the economy. Amidst the inexorable march of technology, into all spheres of our lives, we are witnessing a rapid change in the job market as well. According to the Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum, it is assessed that about 85 million jobs will be displaced by the shift of division of labor between humans and machines by the year 2025. And another 97 million jobs will be created, which were not known, where different types of skill sets will be required, and people have to be prepared for them. The challenges before the educational fraternity are manifold. We have to stay up to the speed or the pace of the new technology by incorporating future learning systems within the school ecosystem. We have seen that in the last 2 years, because of the COVID, we already have faced a lot of challenges. We have prepared ourselves, revisited the way pedagogical interventions have to be made, and continue to motivate both the teachers, students, and parents who have collaboratively worked together to ensure that the learning is improved and the digital intervention that continues. Also, the children learn, and there is, I would say, a more deeper interaction within the student community, the student agency with the parents, and a better understanding is developed between the parents and the teachers and the overall ecosystem. So I'm very happy that this COVID has brought something which is something where created new opportunities of learning for us. And the teachers now today have been able to change the method of delivering the lectures both online and offline. So whenever there are changes in terms of delivering hybrid lectures, we are fully geared up and prepared for that. However, I would like to mention that apart from learning that can happen in terms of academic results, where the students have been performing very well, it is equally important that we do not deviate from the fact that we stand for holistic development, wherein the skills, attitudes, and values of the children have to be harnessed, and the Jaipuria groups lays a lot of emphasis in these areas. We are also moving from the teacher-led learning towards student-led learning, and we also believe that technology will assist the teachers rather than replace them. So, as you saw in the video, I would like to mention that our family's journey into the education started 77 years back. And it is right from Calcutta that the first college was put up, which was the Jaipuria College, which has 5,000 students. And from there onwards, we came to UP, where my grandfather acquired a textile company, which had 12,000 students, and it was the biggest textile unit in India at that length of time. And then he put up a school. And he always believed that the teaching should also have Indian values and ethos while the curriculum was being framed. And we are very happy that we have more than 20,000 students. There's a vision to continuously expand, both in terms of volumes and also in terms of quality. And very recently, the new venture that we started, the new vertical on teachers training, I think in the period of 2 years, it has come up very well. And we always felt that teachers training is one area which has been lacking in our country. And the government schools or the private institutions have not been able to do adequate justice as far as training of teachers is concerned. Teaching has to become aspirational, and it is important that we get the best people as far as teaching is concerned. Then only we can become a country that we aspire to become by the year 2030, or maybe by 2040, when we are claiming that we'll become the third largest country in the world in terms of GDP. So, among the audience today, we have many teachers who will wish to gain from your insights. We also have some parents with us, sir. And we try at times grapple with the idea as to how these new technologies will be shaping the future of education. We have heard about metaverse, and now we talk about the chat GPT. How will assessments take place? How do we counsel the parents tomorrow? Because ultimately, they have to understand it is not only about getting 100% marks, but it is about the skills that are required by the industry for which we have to prepare our students. And those skills we also do not know. So how they continuously learn, unlearn and relearn new things and become lifelong learners. So these are the issues that are always there with us, and we are going through very interesting times in the school's education landscape because there are new challenges, there are new opportunities, and every time we try to vision, we have to continuously revision as to what has to be done in future. So I think some of the questions which I am asking probably will get answered because I heard you yesterday at Wiki Arise, and we were very happy to get a lot of insights as policy makers or owner of schools. There was a lot of thoughts that went into our process as to what changes will be required in the future. So we hope that your address today will throw some light on all these challenges and the opportunities that we have, and it will give a lot of great insights. And I hope our teachers and the leadership team and the students sitting here will greatly benefit from it. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your erudite words.
The principal goal of education in the schools should be creating men and women who are capable of doing new things, not simply repeating what other generations have done. Furthermore, education should not be a privilege enjoyed by a few. Rather, it must be an essential tool that should be passed on to each and every child. Today is a very momentous day as we have amongst us a distinguished person who has always endeavored to redefine the educational arena.
We would now like to request Sugata Mitra, sir, to provide more insight regarding the end of knowing, the new design for education in the emerging new world.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. It's all thanks to Shalini, who kind of started the process, and then it all came together. So when I was trying to figure out what should I talk about, and lots of choices, I decided that I would try a topic that's perhaps not very obvious and perhaps not even very pleasant. Okay? It's called the end of knowing. That's not a nice thing to talk about in a school, Schools are meant for knowing. So what am I trying to get at then? This topic has a lot to do with the internet and what that means for us. It also has a lot to do with an idea that I kind of almost accidentally bumped into many years ago in the 1990s. And it's called self-organizing systems. Okay? And it's generally not taught in schools. almost not taught in universities either. It's actually very common, okay? Self-organizing systems are when you tie a lot of things together. Let's say a lot of little metal balls tied together with rubber bands, okay? Or a pendulum, okay? So two pendulums swinging. Yeah, that's a better example. Two pendulums swinging. Okay, we know everything about that. You've studied pendulums, Galileo, all of that. But suppose now I connect the two pendulums with a rubber band. And you suddenly find that instead of the swinging motion, what is happening is a dance. Okay? That's a self-organizing system. And sometimes self-organizing systems will produce what is called emergent phenomenon. Things that just happen. Happen meaning, how do they happen? They just pop out into existence. Magical. Very important to understand what these two things are for the rest of the talk, okay? Which is why I'm spending so much time on it. I'm going to actually try to show it to you. Because you must understand what I mean by a self-organizing system and emergent phenomenon. We'll do it with a very, very simple experiment that will take only a few seconds to do really. But I want you to do something, okay? What I want you to do is to clap synchronously. Okay? Can you do that? Thanks. Thanks. Okay, I have a very simple question. It took about, 5 seconds? Okay? I have a very simple question. Who put the claps together? Who decided the frequency? But we all, you're saying, but we all is not a person. So, those are, yeah, I'm actually getting an echo when I come. Okay. So, who put the claps together? You did, or they did, or they did, or they... All of us together, but all of us together is not a thing, is not an I. You can call it a we, whatever. Who decided the frequency? Whose brain? Ours. What is ours? What joined all the brains together? The sound of the clap. Isn't it? What you just saw, by the way, is a self-organizing system producing emergent order out of nowhere. Okay? What you saw, to put it in big words, is the act of creation. Done by nothing. Or done by, we don't know what. Okay? So suddenly in this room, it's not just us. There is something else. Where is it? What is it? Okay? Let me try. I've got a bit of a cough, so you'll have to excuse me every now and then. Okay. I have to tell you a little bit about my work. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Yeah. First, a very simple experiment done many, many years ago, 20, 30 years ago, okay? Before most of you were born, all the students. Hang on. Before I do that, it's such a pleasure, such an honor to see so many students here. So being an incorrigible professor, I need to give you a very small assignment. May I? What I want you to do is, at the end of all of this, maybe tomorrow, maybe day after, produce one paragraph on what you agreed and what disagreed with, okay? Written by not anybody, but everybody, okay? It's one of the hardest things to do, okay? It's called the consensus of opinion. And adults like ourselves, we're really bad at it, as you can see from any politics. But you might be able to do it. I don't know how you're going to do this. The entire lot, can you produce one paragraph? Okay, but no cheating. You can't say, okay, you do it and then relax. It has to be everybody together, that thing that we talked about, producing that paragraph. We give it to Shalini, and I want to see what you agreed with and what you disagreed with. Okay, back to my work. Many years ago, I did an experiment. What I did was, I told two of my colleagues, rent a car, or hire a car, drive out of Delhi, drive 200 kilometers towards the northeast, towards the mountains. So you're going from urban into rural, more rural, and so on. Whenever you encounter a primary school anywhere, stop and administer a test of English, math, and science. And bring it back, bring the scores back. So they had a gala time, these two girls. They got a car, they drove all over the place, and they came back with the results. And we plotted it. And this is what we got. The left-hand side, okay? The left-hand side graph. Do you see that? Going like this. Steadily down. The further away you go from Delhi, the further down it goes, on the average. I looked at that, so what is this? What does Delhi have to do with this? Why is this happening? I'm sure you'll get the same result if you took a car out of Ghaziabad and drove out into the countryside. You'll get a similar result. What's happening? I sent my colleagues back and said, go back and ask the teachers just one question. Would you like to work somewhere else? So, in Delhi, in the good, big, posh schools of Delhi like this one, the teacher said, no, we're fine. There's good healthcare, there's good education for our children, everything's fine, we're okay. A little bit further out, the rich suburbs, Noida, Ghaziabad. Oh, we're even better off. Delhi is crowded, polluted. We're better off. We're fine, no problem. A little further out, about 50, 60 kilometers out. Well, it's a bit inconvenient. Healthcare, and to buy something special, we need to drive to Delhi or to one of the big cities. Yeah, well, I might think of it. About 100 kilometers out. Well, sir, to be very honest, I don't mind moving closer to Delhi. Because, children's education, healthcare, day-to-day shopping, everything's a bit of a problem here. I would think about it, I would consider it. 200 kilometers into the wilderness out of Delhi. The answer? Anywhere but here. Okay. The teachers are human beings, after all. They also want the standard of living. They also want safety. They also want good education for their children. So I said, oh my God, these teachers are moving towards the urban centers. The results are going up in the urban centers, leaving the rural centers, the remote centers behind with the low scores. But those are the children who need those teachers. Insoluble problem. I was teaching in England, so I said, okay, now this country, England, will not have this problem Because in England, you know, the countryside is so beautiful that people actually leave the city to go and live in a village. So I said, I won't see that problem. So they did a similar experiment in England, and true enough, there was no trace of any such problem. We had good schools everywhere. But you also had bad schools, schools that performed poorly. So if it is not distance in this case, in England, what was it? In England, we have a statistic called council housing density. I'll explain what that is. Council housing means free or subsidized housing for poor people. And the government builds houses for them. We have something similar here as well. And some areas have lots of these houses. So there's a high density of council housing. And many areas don't have. So they have low council. Those are posh areas. So I took the results and I plotted them, the GCSE results, plotted them against the density of council housing. And I got the graph on the right-hand side. The same graph that we saw in Delhi. What happened now? So I went to these high council housing areas. They were dirtier, they were more rough. I spoke to the teachers, would you like to work somewhere else? Yeah, Sugata, we would really like to move from here. So why is that? You don't know, try walking out in the streets at night. These drug peddlers and, you know, muggers and all kinds of criminals roaming around the place. There's law and order problems. There's a hygiene problem. We'd like to move to another place. So I said, okay, so this is not geographical remoteness. This is socio-economic remoteness. So there's always remoteness of some kind, socio-economic, geographical, ethnic, religious. Every time there's remoteness, the good teachers go to one end, leaving the others behind, leaving the ones that need good education the most behind. Ironic problem. What can we do about it? You heard a little bit of very kind words from the chairman about the hole in the wall. Well, you know, I did that experiment in 1999. That's 24 years ago. And guess what? It's only about 10 years ago that everybody suddenly woke up and said, oh, a hole in the wall experiment. And I said, but that was 25 years ago. What were you doing for all those years? No, you see, the thing is now these children are always wasting time with the internet. So now we need to find out. So what was the hole in the wall? Well, 25 years ago, just a computer in a street, sunk into a wall, full internet connectivity, 3 feet off the ground, Kalkaji, New Delhi, and I turned it on and just left it there. What happened? Well, you can guess what would have happened. All the children came rushing around. Okay, hundreds of children milling around the place. A couple of days later, websites. A few days later, games downloaded from all kinds of websites, installed, played. Few weeks later, searches. There was no Google at that time, whatever there was. Searching for all sorts of information. What kind of information? I would go and ask, a boy or a girl, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for, my grandmother has a pain in her knees. I'm looking for a medicine for that. The trouble is there is a disease, very long name, very, very long name. It's called arthritis. And there's no medicine for it. What is this? I said, yeah, there's no medicine. You make the medicine. But I was saying, look at this. What kind of education is this? But this is education happening here. Very powerful education happening here. What shall we call it? I called it minimally invasive education. So, just a glimpse of what happened next. I was lucky. What happened next was the president of the World Bank landed up in Delhi and gave me $1.5 million to say, you must repeat this experiment all through India, through Southeast Asia, show us that these results will always happen. Because what you're talking of will save us billions and billions of dollars if it works. So I did that experiment, and here's a glimpse of it. There's some flashing pictures in case any of you is affected by it. The cameras are from 1999. So there's the first hole in the wall in Kalkaji. The little boy on the right and his student. And what was he doing? He was teaching her how to browse. Down south. So, you know, those Rajasthani kids in the middle of the desert listening to that music. Whose music was it? Their own. So I said, ये तुम्हारा गला है? He said, हाँ, machine में recorder होता है, आपको मालूम नहीं? Okay, 2 days for children who had never seen a computer before. I know these guys, the students here, they will not be impressed because they'll say this is obvious. They see it all the time. I mean, who teaches you how to use a mobile phone? No one does. But back in 1999, nobody knew this. Okay. So we measured it, straight upward graph of learning. The big question that came from the newspapers to television all over the world covered this, all with one question. Who is teaching them? Okay, now that you've done the clapping experiment, you know. It's that thing. So I published all of this. This presentation is there inside your laptops. So you know, for those of you in the teacher training thing, may I make a request that if you make a collection of these papers, it is not gospel truth. I didn't get everything right, but you could at least ask your trainees to critique it. Then came another question. This one came from England. How far can it go? They said, this is nonsense. Okay, fine. So they're fiddling around with the computer, trial and error, getting a few things. Everybody is saying, oh, fantastic. But, I mean, this is not learning, real learning. What can they learn? I went to a village near Pondicherry, which had been hit by the Asian tsunami and flattened, to a primary school, Tamil-speaking children. And I built a hole-in-the-wall computer for them with an internet connection. And I downloaded material of college level, undergraduate level biochemistry of DNA. You know, DNA molecules. And how they reproduce and all of that. I put that there. So the children came running there. What is this? Is this a new game? I said, no, it's not a game. But it's real serious, interesting stuff. Oh, but it's all in English. I said, yeah. And it's got chemistry. I said, yeah. Oh, no. I said, now what do I do? So I said to them, forget it. You're never going to understand this. You're just too stupid to understand this. You say that to children and you're in trouble. Okay? They did nothing else for the next couple of months. When I went back to the village after a couple of months, and I asked them, what did you understand? One girl said, apart from the fact that improper replication of the DNA molecule causes genetic disease, we've understood nothing else. Okay? it had done the teaching. So I published all of that. It's a very well-known paper right now. It says limits to self-organized learning, and what it concludes is that there are none. So by about 2009, I had this conclusion: groups of children can learn to use the internet to learn anything by themselves. Now, teachers were not very happy. Okay? In England, I have lots of primary school teachers in England who are good friends of mine. And they said, "Professor, you are crossing the line here." I said, "What can I do? It's the numbers talking." Anyway, they heard me. So we created a name for it. You can't do the hole-in-the-wall experiment in England because you can't put anything outside in England. It's always raining and snowing and something or the other is happening. So I brought it inside the classroom. And you can do it very easily inside any classrooms for the teachers here. Very, very easy. Okay? Take 3 or 4 computers, all right, with big screens, preferably with big screens. Scatter them inside the classroom so that you can see all the screens when you stand up. Have the internet connected. Now, whatever you wanted to teach, you convert it into a question. And then ask the children this question: do you know the answer? And don't guess. So use the internet. What will happen? Because there are only 4 or 5 computers and 20-25 children, they will start clustering around the computers. Very important, okay? This doesn't work one-on-one. You have to be with your friends together. And then you'll see the hole in the wall in your classroom. Okay? I've tried it over and over again in England, in America, all over the world. I've done demos after demos. And every time the teachers would say, good old question, who is teaching them? Self-organized learning environments, they call SOLEs, S-O-L-Es.
We'll start now.
If you can't get a teacher, then beam one in.
And he wants to get richer.
This is in Hyderabad.
And hope everyone will go and vote.
Aboriginal art covers a wide medium,
Australia.
including painting on leaves, wood,
A bit of a challenge this afternoon. You know how
England.
you're all really, really good at answering hard questions, but your hand up if you think you're really good at it.
It handles physical motion when walking, talking, standing, and sitting. It lets you think, dream. The right part of the brain controls the left part. The left part of the brain controls the right.
So everywhere, all over the world, all the continents, teachers started to use it. Okay? That was the good news. In England, there was a big joke in the staff rooms, which was, if you've not prepared for your lesson, do a Sugata. Okay? So, because you don't need to prepare to do this, just to make a question. But then I ran into a big problem. Why can't this be used everywhere? You know why? Because the teachers, and it was in England and India that the teachers first raised this, He said, we have to prepare the children for the end of school exams. In that exam, they're not going to have computers and they're not going to talk to their friends and all of that. What good is this? We can do it up to standard 9th. After that, we stop. Because then they have to memorize. They have to memorize everything. Yeah. In the exam, there's no internet. So I said, gosh, so the examination system is stopping this method. Why is it stopping this method? Why do you not allow cell phones during an exam? Because it's cheating. Okay? So, if you're driving and using Google Maps to drive, that's not cheating. I think you see the point, don't you? That everybody uses the internet 24/7 except in the exam. What is wrong? What is wrong is not what is wrong with the internet. What is wrong is what's wrong with the exam. So I wrote about all of that, some more publications. Publications are very important, you know. COVID showed us that. International peer reviewed, otherwise don't believe it. So how do you do a soul? Well, I just described it. So this is just a list of things. This is meant for teachers, actually. I upgraded my sentence. As the world changed, as adults started to follow the children and also pull out their phones, groups of people using the internet can solve most problems by themselves. You see that everywhere, isn't it? You see, I mean, I see it in every country. You call a plumber and you say, "Ye tap change kar dena." And he says, "Nahi, aisa tap to pehle nahi dekha tha," and points his phone at it. And Google tells him. So that's the world we are in. So there is a new literacy. These are all learning curves. They are all learning curves of the not taught variety. So in 2013, I got this prize called the TED Prize. And it's a big prize, $1 million prize. And I got that prize. And it was $1 million. It's given in Long Beach, California, you know, very close to Los Angeles. It's one of those glittering sort of Hollywood-style stuff, you know. So I had to, buy new pants and things. You can't wear a suit. You'd be called an idiot if you wear a suit for that. You need a really good, expensive pair of jeans. So, California. So anyway, so I went, I gave a speech, which is there on the internet, viewed some 6 million times or something like that. I gave a 20-minute speech, I accepted the thing, the money. One of the things that I remember very much, two things. One is that here I was on the stage like this talking, and you know, as you talk, your eyes fall on the faces of people. And I was looking and I stumbled because I said, that's familiar. Oh, Cameron Diaz. A little bit like this. Oh, that's the oldish looking. Bill Gates. That's the kind of crowd you get for that sort of thing. And then the other thing I remember is I got out of after the meeting, I took a lift to go down to the street, and a young man, youngish looking man, came and put his hand on my back and said, good choice, good choice. And I said, yeah, what do you do? I work with computers, he said. And lift doors opened, and I said, by the way, my name is Sugata, what's yours? And he said, Sergey Brin. Okay, the guy who made Google. Here's what the environment looks like. I hope you'll make one in your school one day. single computers, place for children to cluster. Big questions. Okay, in this case, this was in China. The question was, why do we dream? When we go to sleep, why do we have this thing like a movie running through our heads? Where does it come from? Who makes it? Why is it there every night? Etc. And as you might imagine, they worked it out, and I won't tell you the end result. More publications. Okay, so examinations was what was causing the problem. So I did an experiment. Okay, I took college students, first year college students. They had finished school 1 year before. So I went into the classroom and I said, okay, here is the CBSE question paper that you answered last year in order to get into this university. And everybody got, 80, 90 marks in it. Here it is, answer it. You can see what happened, 20%. Okay, there are a lot of adults here, so let me tell you students, if I give this whole lot of adults a CBSE question paper, every single one will fail. Okay. So, does it mean that they're fools? Of course not. What it means is that exam doesn't mean very much. Okay? What is its validity? So 20% after 1 year. I repeated the experiment again. After 1 more year, I went back to the same class and they said, oh no, again? I said, yes, again. This time, use your phones, use the internet. Marks, 77%. It's all there at the back of your minds. But it's just buried deep under because the brain figures all this stuff is not going to be required for living. If you ever need it, use your phone, it will get dug out again. So if exams are not really doing any useful measurement, I give you a math exam and you get 90 out of 100, and I know that 1 year later, if you give you the same math exam, you'll get 20 out of 100. Then what's the point? What am I measuring? So what should I measure then? So I looked at people who use their mobile phones. What do you do with the mobile phone? Well, first of all, you find stuff. So if I had to measure something, I should be able to measure computing. Do you know how to look properly? Do you know what websites to avoid? What websites are likely to be good? Do you know what's a fake website? Do you know what's spam? Do you know what's scam? You need to know all of that. If you do well in that, then you're probably quite well prepared. But that's the first step. Having found what you were looking for, do you have the ability to comprehend what you're seeing, to understand? So the second thing I want to measure is comprehension. And thirdly, if you know how to find what you want, if you know how to understand it, can you communicate your understanding to someone else? So, computing, comprehension, and communication. I think these are the life skills that you need to take back from school into the world. After that, you're all set. Okay? Imagine a situation that I'm hiring someone as a accountant. And 2 people apply. One fellow says, sir, I have memorized all the government rules and regulations. The other fellow says, sir, I don't know, I don't remember there are too many rules and regulations, but I know how to look them up quickly. Who will you take? Because the rules will change next year, no? Comprehension, communication, computing. So what are the lessons? The hole in the wall continues, okay? Amazingly, after 25 years, there are organizations who keep funding more and more holes in the wall. There are thousands of them all over the country in those places where good teachers cannot or do not wish to go. It does whatever it can do. You know, I love those computers. What a fight the internet gives. Okay, it tries its best. I made something called the granny cloud. Okay, which is who's going to ask the questions? If you have a school in a remote area where there's no one to ask the question even properly, who will ask? So I made something called a granny cloud. Well, they're not all grannies, they're actually all sorts of people. And I said, you know, you beam yourself in and you ask the question. So, hello children, I have a question about something or the other. I'll come back tomorrow, you give me the answer. So that a soul happens. It lasted for almost 10 or 12 years. I had to close them down because I didn't realize one thing, you know. If you start with grannies who are 70, 12 years later they're 82. And I would say, can you take a session? And the granny from Britain would say, I am happy to take a session if I can see where the computer is. Okay. So self-organized learning environments, on the other hand, spread throughout the world. There are lots and lots of people, tens of thousands of teachers using it. There's a website called startsoul.org out of Ohio, United States. They've spread it to 10,000 schools in the US. The good thing about doing souls is that you can also contact the teachers, other teachers doing it. So you can exchange notes. How did yours go? How did mine go? That sort of thing. The school in the cloud, the experiment I did with the money from the TED Prize, had very mixed results. I built 7 of them, 5 in India, 2 outside. 3 outside actually, 2 in the UK, 1 in USA. And found this. If you build them in the community, okay, if I did one across the road from your school, right in the middle of a housing colony, it won't last. Because the parents will say, Kaisa school hai, there's no teacher. This is a game parlor. I won't let my child go there, I'm not paying for it. So it closes. If it's inside a school, then the teachers say, this is jolly good. I mean, I can send them there. It's like the kindergarten of the mind. I send them there with a question, they come back with the answer. Okay? So it lasts inside the school. So what's the future then? Now I'm going to guess. This is all the stuff that I did. First of all, unstructured and chaotic learning is happening everywhere. It's good news. All those guys, you know, you see outside sitting under the flyover here, there with a mobile phone. Okay, they're wasting their time, they're looking up all sorts of horrible things, but they're learning all the time. Who is to decide what's the right thing for them and at least they're learning all the time rather than coming out with a blank mind. Okay? That is the big change that's happened in our lifetimes. This continuous, unstructured, chaotic learning. And I hope against hope that somewhere, something will bring the claps together. Any teacher available anywhere. Why do you have to say that I belong to Jaipuria School, they pay my salary? So if you are not Jaipuria School, if a school on the other side of the road, I'm bloody well not going to go and teach in your school. Why should I? Why should it be that way? Why can't you say, the history teacher's fallen ill, so I will get one. I was going to teach Southeast Asian history, so maybe I'll get one from Bali, Indonesia. Why isn't there a website that allows you to do that? She would love it. Suddenly, wouldn't you love it if somebody said, go to Chile, South America, and tell them about your country? That way. Curricula. What is a curriculum? Curriculum is a list of things we know, isn't it? curriculum, history of India, geography of India, this, that, the other thing. List of things we know. Who knows? Teacher knows. Who don't know? You don't know. So I will tell you, you listen, memorize, then I'll ask you in the exam, you answer the question, then forget it. Okay. So what the hell is this? I think a curriculum should be made of the big things to which we don't have the answers. Because what nobody knows, the internet doesn't know either. Then I can give you your phone and say, do what you like. No one knows the answer to this. And I think, as students you will agree, don't you think a question to which no one knows the answer is more interesting than a question to which someone knows the answer? Any day, I mean, they're like the great big riddles of the universe. So a curriculum made of the big unknown. So take physics. What's the biggest unknown in physics? We don't know what existence means. Okay? Take biology. What's the biggest unknown in biology? Who made the genetic code? Why? These are big, big questions, and the internet is only partly helpful. You can only work it out together using your own brains. There are no examinations in the future of learning. There are only measurements of comprehension, communication, and computing. So this is a paper quite recent, which kind of outlines the whole idea of what should be the curriculum year by year, what should be the pedagogy, and what should be the assessment. And what will education be like then, whether we like it or not? The internet will be used during examinations, ladies and gentlemen. One day they will let you use your phones. Okay? You like that? You know, in England, when I first proposed this about 3 or 4 years ago, I said you should allow the internet during exams. And one of the teachers said, oh no. I said, why? What are you so worried about? Said, they will answer everything. So I said, but don't you want them to? And then everyone was quiet. You know, what is school for then? So you will use the internet. Curriculum will become what learners want to learn. If you don't want to learn something, then no matter what we do, or no matter what your school does, your brain will keep it for a while and then get rid of it. Teachers will ask questions that make learners want to know. I don't know why we forgot this. We had discovered this right here in this country and in Greece. Remember Socrates? He never taught anything, he only asked questions. Remember the Buddha? Answer every question with a question. We forgot all about it. So teachers will ask questions. Finding out will be more important than knowing. Now do you see why I called it the end of knowing? Teach, learn, examine will get reversed into question, investigate, learn. Learners will be assessed for comprehension, communication, computing instead of knowing. Learners will work in cooperative groups, always in groups, either physically or virtually. COVID taught us that. Learners will not be taught what they can learn by themselves. I mean, as I wrote this, I said, I mean, what teacher is going to disagree with that. Don't teach learners what they can learn by themselves, obviously. Don't waste your time. Learners and teachers need not belong to any school. We have to get to that model. Somebody has to work out the financial model for doing that. And there's a big missing piece in every curriculum, in every school, in every board of education. You know, you have subjects called physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. You don't have a subject called the internet. You use it 24/7, the whole world, okay? 8 billion people use it all the time. You don't have a subject called the internet. You know how a steam engine works, but you don't know how WhatsApp works. Why? Because there's no textbook and no one to teach it. So if there's no textbook and no one to teach it, we should leave it out of school. Does that make any sense? There's only one way. Tell the children it's important to know how it works. There are no textbooks and there are no teachers. You are on your own. Do it by yourself. And teach us. Okay? Try that with ChatGPT. Now, these are the things that are missing. The internet, networks, self-organization, emergent phenomenon, spontaneous order, and the physics of uncertainty. All missing. Missing from the curriculum. You can't bring it back. You can't bring it in because there are no books. There are very few teachers. Has to be done by themselves. But the school that does it will put their children eons ahead of other schools. So this is yet another last year's paper. Finally got accepted. They were very hesitant to do it. This journal called Prospects, United Nations journal. It's called The Internet as a Subject. And finally, what about educational philosophy itself? Good old Socrates in the background. You need to know, not ahead of time. Why do you know how to solve an equation? Because as you walk out of this room, you'll face some big equation. You learn how to solve an equation just in case if you ever need to solve one. That's not needed, not with Google around. You need to know just in time. You need to have the ability. I should be able to go to a 6-year-old and say, solve this quadratic equation. Give him his phone back. Learning to anticipate the future. The parents over here, you're preparing your child for their future, no? If your child is 8 years old, what future are you going to prepare them for 30 years from now? They might be living on Mars. What are you going to prepare them for? Prepare them for computing, comprehension, and communication. That's all. Fantasy should be a part of schooling. Imagination should be a part of schooling. We've kind of forgotten that. It was such an important part of Indian schooling, if you look at the old system. Fantasy and imagination. What stories exist over there? Bring them back. And finally, the purpose of education is to enable people to live happy, healthy, and useful lives. Nothing else. Not to be doctors, not to be engineers. Happy, healthy, and useful. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Question answer.
Oh, I didn't know there was a question and answer session. All right. Here we go.
Sir, you have actually touched the, or rather I should say, you've stirred the hornet's nest.
I see.
So you will have quite a few questions.
Okay, all right, I'm game.
All right.
Good morning, sir. I am Rumish of grade 11th. And my question for you is, if students can learn anything on their own, if provided with proper setup, then the whole concept of schooling as an institution fails. Schools focus more on theoretical knowledge, which is not equipped firmly with the practical experiences. But do we not need the guidance and experiential insights of a teacher who has spent major amount of their life equipping themselves with specialized knowledge?
Yeah, well, good enough question, but I'll rephrase it. I'll say your question really is that if we can learn everything by ourselves, what do we need school for? Okay, basically. Well, there is a reason. There is a reason. First of all, remember I said that your curriculum becomes the big questions. Who will give you the questions? Who gave the questions in the past? Where were the Buddhas, the Socrates? That's the role they have, okay? You like being Buddha or Socrates? Well, shave your head. Okay, they will give you the questions. Otherwise, where will you get the questions from? And as you struggle with the answers, they will be around saying, you know, I don't know the answer, but you try it. You tell me. The other reason, why do we go to school? You know, once there were floods in England and the schools were closed for some time, BBC interviewed some children. Said, how does it feel? Oh, first day was good. It was a holiday and yes, it was good. But after that, it's very boring. So why you want to go to school? Yeah, we want to go to school. So what is school for? Oh, school is to meet my friends. They say, you know,
Thank you, sir.
So, you know, so yes, you need the school.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Shola from grade 11. Sir, AI is the new future, and even in the pandemic, we saw our dependence on technology to avail education. And this is horrifying yet amazing at the same time. So, sir, what is your view on the intersection of AI and education? For example, a robot teaching a student. What kind of changes it will bring in the existing pedagogy? Will it be negative or positive, or it cannot be foreseen right now?
Sure. I'm actually spending the next 3 days with people who want me to talk about ChatGPT and how it works. You know, the first thing you should know about AI, the first thing you need to know is what is it and how does it work? Remember I was saying the internet as a subject? Well, imagine if you saw a helicopter and you didn't know what it is for. And I said, what can you use that for? You might say, I can use it for a table fan. That's what's happening to AI. We're all talking about what will we use AI for without knowing what AI is. Okay? So when ChatGPT came out, I think most of you know what ChatGPT is, and it was answering these amazing answers to questions. But I locked myself in. I'm retired, so I can afford to do that. I locked myself at home in England for 7 days, and it took only 7 days. I learned enough to be able to build a ChatGPT for myself. Okay? And as I started to write the code, the whole thing came together. How it works, what it does, what it cannot do, etc. So can a robot be a teacher? In a way, it already is. I mean, Alexa and Google and so on. In the Nevada desert in the United States, a teacher contacted me and said, Professor Mitra, I really love souls. So I said, oh, I'm so happy to hear it. So do you use it? I use it all the time with my children. How old are your children? Oh, 2 and 3 years old. I said, what? 2 and 3 years old? They can't read. So how can they do any soul? I said, they don't read. They talk. And you know, it was chilling for me to hear this generation of children, 2 years, 3 years old, they're talking to Google and Alexa. Why did my mother shout at me today? Okay, that kind. And so on and so forth. It may be horrifying, but the thing is, it is there. It is there. So, yes, robots are there. Robots were built by us. If we know how they work, then we know what could be true, what could be false, what can go wrong, etc. If we don't, then we are in danger. It's like launching those, you know, there's a point-to-point missiles. The US is very proud of we can shoot so that it's a pinpoint accuracy, we will hit the target. And they used it, and with pinpoint accuracy, they hit a car with 5 children in it. Okay? I read through that whole case. What went wrong? You know what's chilling? Nothing went wrong. The missile decided to go there. What do you say to that? That is really frightening, isn't it? Why did it decide? We need to know how it works. So that's roughly the answer. What
Thank
about...
you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, sir. I'm Utkarsha Mishra from class 7th. I wanted to ask that even though this model is great at solving questions that children may have and the questions proposed by the teachers, what about the questions that are not present on the internet? For example, I've searched a lot of questions on my own which do not have answers on the internet. What can they do about that?
Well, good point. I mean, that is the whole point of making the questions. Remember what I said was, if there is a question to which no one knows the answer, then the internet doesn't know either. So the internet is unable to help you. You can use whatever. But it can tell you who has tried, what have they found so far, and so on and so forth. So the questions that you are looking for, the ones you can't find on the internet, they are the most important questions around today. So find questions which will tell you why those questions are not there. And you'll start finding the answer of a series of human failure, not human success, at trying to find the answer. I don't know how interested any of you are in philosophy, because it's considered a very, dry and boring, and it's not in the curriculum and all of that. But if I were you, read the old philosophers. They're such fun. Okay, Plato and Aristotle. There's like storybooks, really. And you'll see the big questions to which they tried all their lives to find the answer and failed. Those questions are not there on the internet.
Dr. Mitra, I have a quick question to ask, if I may. I'm here. Here.
Where are you?
I'm here.
Right.
This morning I saw a fantastic demonstration by a student, of a counseling bot, so to say. Now, when the student was demonstrating, I was very impressed with the way the student presented. It was very, very commendable. However, when we talk about a counseling bot, the responses to the questions were obviously automated responses, But do you think that in counseling, which is very, very personalized, ideally it should be a very personalized interaction between, somebody who's seeking answers to their questions, should there be a bot, should there be a counseling bot answering these questions? I mean, would you recommend a counseling bot per se?
Well, a counseling bot that repeats stuff without giving the right reference can be quite dangerous. I think a counseling bot should say that from what little I know, so-and-so, Mr. Sigmund Freud said this.
Yes.
Then you're okay. Then you're leaving it to the other guy to do the interpretation. By the way, I actually wrote a whole set of I don't know if you'll call them bots. They're called synthors, synthetic thought generators. And there are 12 of them in the Microsoft store. They all work on Windows. And they're based on books. So there's one on Sigmund Freud. So you can go up there and say, I feel sad in the mornings. And you'll hear Dr. Freud come back on that. Okay? Just to give you an example, you might find this interesting. I had a synthor of the Buddha. I asked it the question of what use is love? Why is it there? The Buddha's answer, not of much use. It is the source of all pain. Okay? So, all right, so I said, oh, wow. So I took that answer, and I put it into the Sigmund Freud Synthor and said, Dr. Freud, the Buddha has said, love is not of any use. It's source of all pain. I was wondering, what will Freud say? And guess what? Out of the interpretation of dreams, Freud said, sometimes on a train, you might meet a passenger who insists on telling you their childhood fantasies. Rest assured, he's probably not bought a ticket also. And I said, my God, he's actually abusing the Buddha. So in saying that this is childhood fantasy. So then I took that sentence and I took the Charles Darwin Synthor. I put it inside that and said, what good is love? And gosh, Darwin, is a very old fellow, so he writes huge sentences. So he wrote this huge sentence, came up back on the screen, and it said, the Emperor Akbar in India kept thousands of pigeons. He kept them in the same aviary, but records show that the breeds did not intermix. Love keeps the breeds separate. Mind-blowing. But the thing is, the Synthors did not pretend that they knew this. They just reported that this is these are the paragraphs that came in. So then when ChatGPT came, I asked ChatGPT, is it true that Darwin says love is to prevent species from intermingling? ChatGPT said, Charles Darwin never wrote anything about aviaries. Okay, his work is on evolution, etc. So I said, are you sure he never mentioned Emperor Akbar anywhere? And ChatGPT said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Okay. He did write about aviaries and how love keeps the breeds separate. So anyway, I'm rambling on, but all I'm saying is pay attention to philosophy, okay, everybody.
So we have one last question.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Tanvi from grade 11. Maximum students aspire for cabinet and management jobs, which is why India is way behind in research and development fields. What can research and innovation make engaging for students, and how can we spark the curiosity to explore?
Okay, I love that as the last question. It's kind of at the heart of what I was saying. If your school focuses on answers rather than on questions, where are you going to get your research orientation from? Where does research come from? Research comes from the questions to which the teachers don't know the answers. They have to tell you that. If you grow up asking questions, up to the age 5, children will drive you mad with questions. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Why is it like this? What makes them stop? We stop them. And then we complain about research. So ask. Okay? Ask. There's a great quotation in the Bible, that's one of my favorite quotations. It says, ask and the door will be opened. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We are really grateful for your insights.
Seth Anandram Jaipuria Education Society aims at sustainability in education and take a pledge to support the education of 5 underprivileged children as a part of the Shiksha Na Ruke program. in the name of Dr. Sugata Mitra. We request our chairman, sir, and director principal, ma'am, to award the certificate to Sugata Mitra, sir.
Thank you, sir and ma'am, for doing the honors.
Vinod Malhotra, sir, is the Senior Advisor of Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Educational Institutions, an author and a motivator with his characteristic wit and wisdom. He has been spreading positivity and happiness around him through his interactions and interactive sessions. Sir, we request you to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
What an absolutely fantastic sessions we had. Just a small counterpoint to what Professor Sugata Mitra has been talking about in terms of asking questions. You had the counterpoint of Charles Dickens' statement, ask no question, you shall be told no lies. So we have several kind of things happening all around. By the way, thank you, Shalini, for giving me this opportunity to propose a word of thanks. I love this job of proposing a word of thanks. You know, for a variety of reasons. First is, you're not the main speaker, so it doesn't create any stress. You don't have to prepare yourself. You just pick it up from piece from Chairman, Sugata, Shalini, and make it your own, appear as your own. So, the second reason is that it gives me a great opportunity to express my thankfulness to everyone, gratitude. I think we must never miss on an opportunity expressing gratitude. Most of all, of course, to the Almighty, and of course to everyone. I think all of us are the reason, everyone is the reason for us to be what we are. Everyone has contributed in some sense. That's what we're talking about, collaborative, cooperative learning. This is, I think, a collective movement of, evolutionary movement of mankind. So, never miss an opportunity of expressing gratitude. So, this is another reason. And third very interesting reason is, I managed to get the last word. And there's no speaker after, I hope there's no speaker after this. So, I can make silly, provocative, outlandish statement and get away with it. There's no one to contradict. By the way, one point that I wanted to share with children, Sugata mentioned about philosophy, and I think it's a great thing to be immersed into that. I recommend to you two very interesting books by a writer called Will Durant, Story of Philosophy and Pleasure of Philosophy. Fantastic books, a great English, and takes you through starting from Aristotle, Socrates, Buddha, and down the line, several generations. It's a great learning experience. You see, I must confess, when I looked at the topic which Sugata had chosen today, the end of knowing, it kind of provoked a considerable kind of both in terms of excitement and a bit of a disillusionment, in the sense that, what are we talking about, end of knowing? Is there an end of knowing? Can there be an end of knowing? Or should there be an end of knowing? But I must say that he more than compensated or redeemed himself by taking us through the journey thereafter. And I think it's a fantastic session where, and I'm reminded of the poet Robert Frost, Road Not Taken or Road Less Traveled. And I think you make a mark in this world, because all of us normally walk on the beaten track, and we end up achieving nothing at all. So whenever you see a fork in life, choose the road be less traveled. And I think this is what he's done for the last several years, and that's where he's got himself to that. And a lot of thought-provoking proposition that challenging the school system, teacher system, well, not challenging the school system, of course, schools are there to stay, but in the sense that the relevance of the teacher's presence, we often heard about this phrase these days, not a sage on the stage, but a guide by the side. That's something people have been talking about. But in what manner they need to reshape their intervention, their support, guidance, mentoring, this, that, and other. That's something which every teacher really has to start thinking about and see how we can revisit our role process in terms of not merely finding answers for everything, but also starting asking deeper questions so that we are able to. The fact of the matter remains that that knowledge or education is nobody's specific preserve. It's absolutely agnostic to the individual concern. It's right there in the cloud. It's right in the environment. It's everywhere. Now, all depends upon your skill set, your preparation, your guidance, how to capture that inside you. It's almost like taking a breath of air. We take a breath of air to live a life, to survive. We bring in education to live a life purposefully, usefully, and like I said, healthy and happy. That's the purpose of education. I think, and it is up to us, for all of us, to be able to, in how efficiently and how beautifully we are able to imbibe, assimilate, acquire that knowledge like we acquire oxygen from the atmosphere, to keep us going in a very healthy and a forward manner. I personally think strongly that our generation, for example, last 2,000 years, even before that, the mankind has to keep on moving. We cannot stop that evolutionary journey. In what manner we are able to come together, put our heads together, whether use internet. In fact, I often mention this, that we quite obsessed with the computer, internet, and everything is wonderful. Of course, these are all things which are essential for our existence today. But I dare say that computer came into existence about 40, 50 years ago. All of us have been carrying this huge, beautiful computer over our head. And I can challenge the capacity of our computer that we're carrying on our head with any of the computers which have been invented so far. 50 billion neurons inside our cerebral cortex. But we don't use it. That's the problem. We don't use more than 5% of that. I think that's what we need to really train. Any kind of education, any kind of understanding or knowledge. And in fact, it's all very consistent with teachers particularly, very consistent with the concept of the Bloom's taxonomy. The pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy works exactly on the same pattern. Memorizing, understanding, validating, evaluating, and of course the creativity. So I think this is something that how in what manner we are able to utilize, leverage our huge capacity. Each neuron has a few gigabyte capacities, but we have not been able to create that kind of an ambience where we encourage students to use that. I think that's really the challenge. We just quote a very simple, well-known, maybe not very well-known, verse from Bhagavad Gita, which actually describes our persona. And we really need to understand what we really are. It says, Indrayani paranyahu indrebhe paramana manasastu parabuddhi yu buddhi paratastusa. What it says is that human being, if you look at yourself, all of us know about it, starting from body, senses, mana, buddhi, ahankara, and atma. These are 5, 6, 7, and they're all hierarchical. Body driven by senses, senses controlled by mana, controlled, which is vacillating, is controlled by a buddhi, and of course we have what is called consciousness. We all talk about it, we perceive it, but yet we are not being able to unravel the mystery of so-called consciousness, like many other things in those. But the human, search is constantly on in these particular areas. The most important endowment out of all these 5, 6 categories, which is slightly material, but not very material, but very subtle, is our intellect, our buddhi, which again functions the concept of it has storage facilities, it's got memory, it's got like the communication part, retrieval, you are able to pull it out just at the right time to give an answer. we really need to focus on that aspect of it. Develop our intellect. Let me also give you a very interesting analogy from one of the Upanishads called Kathopanishads. You will see an iconic picture of Mahabharata where Krishna is the charioteer, he's holding the reins of the horses. Arjuna is sitting inside the chariot. You know, beautiful analogy. What it says, the chariot is like a human body, exactly like the human body. Arjuna is a mana, vacillating, depressed, not very sure. Krishna is the intellect and the consciousness, and the horses are the senses, which are running away, amok. We need Krishnas, we need intellect, people who have used the intellect and consciousness to be able to rein in all. And if you are able to, to follow that particular concept and are able to sort of concentrate on without any distraction, if you're able to concentrate, I think it's nothing which is beyond our achievement and lead a successful life. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not wish to digress from my main function of thanking everyone here. Great thanks, Professor Sugata Mitra, for a very, very illuminating talk. I'm not sure how many of the thoughts that you suggested are immediately doable. Let me be very candid about it, but they're worth trying. And I'm sure a lot of teachers would be wanting to get into that because, we have created ourselves kind of a very traditional system where parents and teachers and the entire community find little difficulty in adopting a new process. But I think we need to try that out. I think it's a wonderful insight that he's given to the future learning program. How is it going to unfold? We must make an effort. Must not. I mean, the thought shouldn't really end at the end of the session. It's a great food for thought, all of us, and we must do that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shalini, Shishir, Professor Mitra, and all of you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your amazing words will always enthuse us. We request our esteemed chief guest to now proceed to the exhibition area that showcases the creative and innovative ideas of the young Jaipurians. And we also request all the parents to kindly remain seated.